I'm gonna pin these because I don't want to close these. Need that one. Okay.
Chrome.
And then
Okay.
we're gonna go to tabletopaudio.com. So that's the first thing I'm gonna show you. Just because it's quick and easy and doesn't require fantasy grounds. So this first screen is great for stuff like the mushroom. Oh shit, they have a mushroom forest. I've been using this like swampy one down below for the when you guys are out in the mushroom forest. But they actually have a mushroom forest. Let's see what that sounds like. Oh, it's more chipper than I imagined our mushroom forests. But anyway, so there's
cool, and there's
these cool
in the woods.
There's these backdrops. So these are great for certain backdrops. You can play around with those. But the sound pad is what I use the most.
Oh,
so
that's badass.
If you look at the top, you can click sound pad. And then I almost always
stop it. Like I started playing it.
The player's in the top middle of the page. It's like a floating. It's like a floating player.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I did not know that it was just freaking that easy to.
Yeah, and these are all guaranteed to be royalty free and stuff, so you don't have to worry about getting copyright issues. And then the sound pad. So go ahead and click the sound pad and just go to the dungeon. That's the one I use the most.
Sound pad. Where's the sound?
It's very top nav bar.
Oh, top right. Oh, okay.
And I open these in multiple tabs. So sometimes I'll open that sound pad thing and I'll go down the list and I'll hit with the middle mouse button. So like push the mouse wheel like a button, and I'll hit those links and it'll pop open additional Chrome tabs. And so then I have all these Chrome tabs I can jump between to find the sound effects I need. So I find whatever ones are relevant. Usually it's just the dungeon and like combat. I'll have those two open. Or Old Town, I think I have there's a tavern one, the tavern. And you can, so on here, you can see you can create soundscapes. So if you start playing some, you can play them, or you can hit the little clock next to them, and you can say, hey, repeat every 10, 15, 30 seconds, minute, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. You can create full soundscapes, and then like randomize when certain sound effects play and stuff. And at the top, you can hit save scene, and it will save it. It saves it to your browser's local storage, so don't expect it to be on another computer, which I found out the hard way. So it'll only be stored on that computer.
I don't see anything about creating a soundscape, but I do see all the different sounds.
So you can play 3 of them, just at random. Set them to like repeat or whatever, and just play them continuously. So the ones that have the little check mark with the green arrows, those ones like play repeatedly in the background. So go ahead and start a few of those, and then scroll up to the very top. And you see under the SoundPad V19, you can see save scene, stop clear all.
Yes.
Save scene.
Okay, and that's how you create. That's what. So there's not a button. That says
so now you can hit. So save your scene as something random. Then you can hit stop to stop everything. And then you can click your scene on the list, and it will start up the ones you had.
Oh.
So, this is fun to play around with.
You can just delete it by clicking that little X.
Yeah. And I tend to, and again, remember, it's only stored on that browser, on that computer. It's not stored on like the cloud or anything, so you won't find it on another computer. You can move it. I can show you how. It doesn't have a way for you to move it. I'd have to just show you how with the browser's dev tools. But as long as you're going to use it on the same computer all the time, it's fine. So this is fun. You can play around with it. I don't recommend getting lost because you can sit here all night creating scenes, which I did once.
Yeah.
And it's a waste of time because then you forget to play them. Right. And so I just leave this open over there. Sometimes I forget to change sounds and stuff, but it's fine. I just have it there, and I can set the mood really easily with the sounds. Hopefully you guys like the sounds. Are they ever too loud?
No, they're pleasant. Generally speaking, I do not remember a time that they were an occasion that they've been too loud. Others may disagree, and I've always thought it adds like a good level of ambiance. Maybe an Echoverse one time they were too loud, and I think that that was communicated to you.
Well, I used very different software back then.
It down. Yeah. To answer your question, no, not that I can remember.
Gotcha. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a. So let's open up Fantasy Grounds now. I'm going to create a sample campaign, and for the hell of it, we'll call. Well, I was going to call it Celestial Crisis, but let's just make something up. Let's just call it End of Days. Okay, so I'm on create campaign. You're going to hit load campaign to join me in a minute. Actually, you know what? Let me stream my screen to Discord. Screens, go live. There we go. You should be able to watch me in Discord now if you want to see my screen, which would probably be easier.
Of course I do. Half of it, like half of the struggle can just be like, what fucking button do I click?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to click, so to create a campaign, I'm going to click Dungeons and Dragons 5e. These are other rule sets for other games, for other tabletop games. We never use them because all our group ever plays is 5e. So, and then over here you can choose, so you're going to most likely choose cloud and public, and you're going to want to put a password in, and then people can find you. If they go to load game, they can find your game, or join campaign. There it is. You can find your game on this list. Now, the difference between the way I'm going to do it and the way you ought to do it is I'm going to do LAN, and then I'm just going to have the IP and port, and I have it set up so that my router forwards the traffic on that port to this computer. So if you don't know how to do router port forwarding and stuff, then I don't recommend doing this. Just use their cloud server. But the difference is you guys all connect directly to my computer. And then we have a direct connection. So if the cloud server goes down or something, it doesn't matter to us, because as long as our clients are working and we all have internet, you guys are connecting to me as the host directly. That's how I have it set up. But now they've added this cloud thing because it's actually hard to set it up that way, because like I said, I had to modify router settings and stuff. So normal people will host it in the cloud, and then the difference is all the traffic is relayed through this cloud server. So you connect to the cloud server as the host, your players connect to the cloud server. So technically they're ultimately connected to you. It's just that their traffic goes through the cloud server and then to your computer. And so it just adds an extra point of failure. So if their cloud server goes down, then your game will disconnect. Or if it's got heavy traffic and it's having trouble keeping up with all the connections, you'll start seeing like weird lag and stuff that you might not see if you have a direct connection. So, but anyway, that's the difference. And then down here we have extensions. These have all sorts of different things. The decals are just little stickers that go on the back of the wallpaper, so I usually just don't worry about any of those. D&D Official is the theme we've been using, with the little dragon heads as the bookmarks. Theme Dark is what we used tonight. Then there's Theme Dungeon. We've used that in the past. It's all right. The light theme is basically a light version of the same theme we're using. And yeah, so then there's some other simple themes that have been around, but they look really old school because they're old themes. These new ones actually look kind of cool. So I'm going to do the light theme this time because I think it'll be better for the stream. And I'm going to start it up. End of Days. And actually, I'm going to do cloud so that you can see, so that you can connect from your end and see what that experience is going to be like for your players, since that's how they're going to do it. The password is Booker. Okay.
Password is what?
It's going to be Booker, with a capital B.
All right.
Okay, I'm going to start. Okay, so go ahead and go to Join Campaign. It might not be there yet, but it should be there soon, as it's creating the campaign. It takes a while. You have to be patient with Fantasy Grounds. They still haven't gotten to performance. It's a lot faster than it was 6 months ago, but they still haven't done the final performance stuff to make it normal speed. Once it's open, it's fine. It's fast after that. But initial campaign creation takes a minute. There we go. Okay, the campaign is up. You should be able to find me on that list. There's a refresh button if you need to refresh the list. You should be able to search for Chev, or End of Days is the name of the campaign. You found it. Sweet.
Yep.
So that'll be your player's experience because you're going to have to host in the cloud. So that's how you'll tell them to find it and then tell them the password. Okay. So do you just want a generic Fantasy Grounds tutorial first before I go into how I prep?
Yeah, I mean, I'm even as a player, I struggle with it. With a DM, I'm sure I'd be next to illiterate.
Okay. Then let's go. We're going to run through each of the features one by one as soon as this stops freezing because you're connecting. There it goes. Let's see. Are there generic PCs? Import character. Open character wizard. No, that's fine. We won't worry about that yet. I just want to make sure you can connect. So just watch my screen going forward. Okay. Let's go through all the buttons first. So we'll start with the library. The library is kind of the central thing for Fantasy Grounds. This is where you load modules into Fantasy Grounds. So you come down here, there's a modules button. Okay. All these modules contain content. Now, most of these are here because they're visible because I've bought them. And you can buy them on fantasygrounds.com. Are you using my copy of Fantasy Grounds when we start in November?
I'd like to. I mean, if you've already purchased all this stuff, and I can,
yeah, I think we'll just trade
no
trade
negative
it around.
consequence to you.
I don't know if we can get in trouble for that though. So let me look into make sure we're not going to like lose my account or something. Yeah. So anyway, to load different modules, you come into here. Now there is a ton of free stuff. So you may not need my account because you can just do the pay for the ultimate subscription, and then that's all you need to pay for because you have these SRD files. And these contain a bunch of really basic like items, rules, spells, races. So it doesn't have everything, but it has a ton and they're free. And so you can just click. So what happens is, let me just show you the story here. The story, there's nothing in the story window, but if I go ahead and load, actually a better window will be, so hold on. Where's NPCs? Oh, here we go. The NPCs button. There's no NPCs in here. If I go ahead and load one of these SRDs, the bestiary, I think should do it. Oh, I double clicked it. It loaded and unloaded. My bad. There we go. You see how a bunch of NPCs appeared all of a sudden?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I just loaded. This is basically the open source monster manual is what this SRD bestiary is. Now I've paid for the content, so I would actually just load the monster manual. So I'll unload that and I'll come down and find the Dungeon Master's Guide. So there's a bunch of stuff in the Dungeon Master's Guide. I think it has a bunch of NPCs, so we can load that. If they're big, they take a second to load. They have a lot of data in them. There it goes. So you can see there's some stuff in the Dungeon Master's Guide, but not a ton. If we find the Monster Manual, which is right here, which I recommend if you want to pay for modules, buy the Handbook, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Monster Manual. Those three give you like pretty much everything you need.
All right.
Minus some races and stuff.
I mean, we have already, like, does this all port over to D&D Beyond? Are all of the races that you have available for us to select on your campaigns in D&D Beyond?
Yeah, I've purchased them in both places because I'm that obsessed.
Oh, okay. Because I was about to say, we have so many races in D&D Beyond. Half the time I can't choose, and a lot of them I actually select not to be because it's like, wow, that guy sounds so powerful.
I'm gonna show you the way I do your guys' sheets. So it's actually not gonna matter as far as player stuff goes. So like if you want to do it exactly the way I do it, then you don't need to have any races at all. The only thing you'll want at the very minimum is probably like the monster manual. And maybe the player's handbook for some magic items. But yeah, actually, you know what? You can just use these free ones, these SRD files. These 3 SRD files will give you a shitload of content, and they're free, and they'll appear right here no matter what. The rest of these only appear because I've paid for them. But yeah, that's really all you need. And in fact, I'm just going to load those. So let's unload anything else for now. And I'll show you what you can get away with for free in here. I think that'll be good. unload. What else did I load? The monster manual. There it is. Okay, there, it's empty now. So you'll notice that all these things, they open different types of things. There's images, NPCs, there's tables you can roll on, there's story, and so all these things are empty because we have no modules loaded. Does that make sense? There's no content in this campaign because I dumped it all out. So we'll start loading the bestiary. I try not to do too many things at once. I don't want the app to freak out. But so the bestiary gave us a bunch of NPCs you saw. We loaded this SRD data file. It seems like it gave us a bunch of tables. And then we got one for magic items. That's probably going to give us more items. We have an items window. There's items. So we now have a bunch of those items. And yes, so you don't have to load any of this. You can just use D&D Beyond, and I can show you how to manually create an NPC. It just sucks when you create stuff on D&D Beyond to have to manually recreate it in Fantasy Grounds. So I'm going to show you like the minimum of what you can buy or not buy. You can use these free files, and then what I do for the PCs, so that way they can use my D&D Beyond content, which I have everything on. And we don't have to worry about buying it again in Fantasy Grounds. Okay, so that's module activation. After we get done with the basic tutorial, I'm going to load my custom module I made called Chev Tools right here, and then I'll show you how I use it to do campaign creation and session prep. But for now, we loaded those free files, so we got some stuff in here. Story is still empty, and images are still empty. So I may go load something to fill those in a sec, because I know I have some modules that have maps and story in them. When you buy campaign modules, they come preloaded with story in them, which is cool.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I'll go over that in a little bit for you. So the library, this right here looks complicated. All it is doing is showing you which buttons show up on this right sidebar way over here on the right. I'm going to close everything for now so we don't get lost. But all these check marks right here are just showing which buttons show on the right. See that feats button is showing and going away? That's it. So you can click all right here, and you can see all the buttons. It's just that they take up a lot of screen real estate, so they have a few presets. GM, it tries to only show you the things you're most likely to open while you're DMing a session. Play is more like the buttons you would need to see if you're creating a character, or excuse me, if you're playing in a campaign. So here's your PCs to choose your character. Here's notes if you want to take notes. And then here's story, and anything that the DM has shared and allowed players to see story-wise will show up in here. And then, you can see NPCs and items and stuff, stuff that the GM has chosen to share. Which, by the way, on that module screen, you'll see these little red X's, player load blocked. So even if you try to share an item to chat, so let's say I try to share this Aboleth NPC to chat, and I can click it, and it opens the Aboleth character sheet. But if you try to click it as a player in that chat, in fact, you're still connected, so you can click it and see, it shouldn't load for you. Does it?
I mean, I'm watching.
Oh, I thought I was asking you to go into your client where you connected to my game and click that and see what happens if you click that in chat.
Oh, yeah, hold on. My client's still frozen, I think, because there's no characters in the game. Like, all I see is the Fantasy Grounds logo.
Yeah, you shouldn't need to pick a character in order to click the link in the chat.
Oh, the link in the chat. Hold on. I was confused. All right.
Let me know if it worked. You should not be able to see this sheet that I have popped up.
Which chat? I just checked Solstice chat and it wasn't in there.
No. So Fantasy Grounds. In Fantasy Grounds, right here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no wonder this isn't working out. Okay. So my Fantasy Grounds is still stuck on the front screen. It's not like I'm not in the campaign.
All right, don't worry about it. We'll deal with that later. No big deal. My point I was trying to make was that you as a player should not be able to load that. It should tell you unable to access that data or whatever. And then if you look right here, can you see my screen?
Let me go back to the shit. Which one was it? Oh, the headphones. Having the jack-o'-lantern water cooler and the headphones. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Now I'm back onto the stream. So.
Okay. See how this red X is here? That means even though I shared this file in the chat, they shouldn't be able to see it. If they click that link, it should pop up and say they don't have access. If I change that to green, now they can load this module and see the stuff that's in it. So if you have like a custom campaign module, or you bought one of the official campaign modules, you don't want the stories to be available to them. You don't want them to be able to click the story window and actually see the story shit. So you don't want to share those. So I don't usually mess with these because they usually have appropriate defaults, and a lot of modules that are meant to.
I want to mess with it either.
A lot of modules that are meant to be shared with players even just say players on the end and have the green check mark already. So you're good on those. And the green check mark only matters if you actually have this loaded. If you don't have it loaded, then I don't think the players can load it regardless of the check mark. Okay. And so if you want maps, you can get the maps in here. I have I'm gonna load.
Oh, okay. So when you click to share these with us, that means that when I click map, for example, all of the things that you have shared with the data module activation are on the list of maps that I can select from.
So these are stuff that you could just load yourself. So if you came in as a player into library and went to modules, you could start loading modules that I've shared with you. That's all this screen is saying. Okay, so I loaded this Ravnica Maps module just so I could show you that there's now images and maps. And I can open these up. Now, even if I haven't shared this module with you, which I haven't, Ravnica Maps, I can still share individual files with you. I can right-click, I can go to sharing, and I can share it. And then that will make it shared. And then when you go to the images window, you see how it says all right here? You can click it and it will only show ones I've shared. So I can easily see that you guys have access to this map. I've given you access to this map. If I want to take that access away, I just click this little P and it's unshared. Or I could come in here, right click, sharing, and go to stop sharing record.
Okay, so images and maps, that's how you shared us the picture of that monster that we saw in the corner.
So let's walk through each of these buttons one by one. I think it'll be easier. Overall, I needed you to understand how modules are loaded so that all these other features get their data, because that's kind of like the starting point, is you got to make sure you have all the modules you want. Like, so for instance, let's say we just started the Tomb of Annihilation, which I bought, so it should be in here. If I load Tomb of Annihilation, oh, come on, where is that? There it is. I load that one up, and I'll go unload the Ravnica maps, so we only have maps from our campaign. Come on, load. You have to have patience for sure with Fantasy Grounds. Okay, let's unload that module. Okay, now we're gonna say that this campaign is the end of days campaign that I created. We're gonna run Tomb of Annihilation. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the library and turn on all the buttons so we can see all the buttons here. And then I'm gonna go through these top ones first. But just keep in mind as we go through these, we're gonna see data now related to Tomb of Annihilation from that module I just loaded. So and then we also loaded the free modules with all the NPCs and stuff in it. And so that's the only thing, if I was you as a new person, that's the only thing I've paid for so far, is I bought the Tomb of Annihilation module. That's it.
Okay.
The rest of the stuff was free. It came with Fantasy Grounds. Okay, so Combat Tracker, you already understand. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull up the NPCs here. And now as a GM, you have a bigger job to do with this Combat Tracker. It's going to be like the thing you have open all the time. Whereas the players sometimes choose to not even open it, I've noticed. So the Combat Tracker shows a lot more detail to you. So I'm going to go ahead and create a temporary PC. And you can create a blank PC and just give it a name. We'll call him Bob. And then we'll give him some generic, there's got to be a generic picture in here. Sure, that'll be Bob. Okay, so we now have Bob as a PC, so we can drag him to the combat tracker. So we can put PCs in the combat tracker that way. And then NPCs we can put in the combat tracker just by dragging their little link. Now, this little button will change based on the Fantasy Grounds style you load. You'll notice before it's been like a dragon head, or it's been a little pin button. On this theme, it's apparently a little square button with a dragon on it. And I can drag all sorts of NPCs in here. Okay, and you can go through this list. You can sort by their challenge rating and stuff, which can be a little bit complicated. So I'm going to show you how I build encounters, and I build them on D&D Beyond, and then I kind of recreate them over here. We'll do that a little later. But for now, this is just focusing on the combat tracker. You can see that I was able to drag NPCs in here and player characters in here, and you can adjust who is friendly to who by just dragging these little icons. So I can put a green icon face on there. You can also just click this and it will toggle through a bunch of them, or you can drag them from down here, and you can make them neutral, you can make them hostile, or you can make them friendly. If they're friendly and you don't have token locking on, then players can grab any friendly player token and move it. So I don't know if you've noticed before before the token locking, you should have been able to grab any of the other players' tokens, which became a pain when you're trying to select yours underneath a bunch of theirs. And so now we have token locking, so it's a lot better. But anyway, by default, you noticed these little eyeballs that look cracked. That's this theme. On other themes, it looks just grayed out, but this theme apparently makes it look like cracked. That means they're invisible. Okay, so you can hit this up here, and you can make them all visible, or you can enable them one by one to make them visible. That really this makes them visible in the player's combat tracker. So right now, if you were in the game still as a player, you would only see Bob in the combat tracker. You wouldn't be able to see these ones until I turned them on. Then you can see them. Okay, so that's how you hide things from your players. And then what we can do, let's go find a map. So we'll open up images and maps. Oh, it's because I have it filtered to shared. I was like, we should definitely have images in here. Okay, so we got a lot of images of NPCs. You can see that it shows what module they're a part of. NPCs, Tomb of Annihilation, Handouts, Tomb of Annihilation. To filter these and get to what we want, they've included categories with that Tomb of Annihilation module. So you can see there's artwork, there's battle maps, there's DM maps. So I'm going to go find a good battle map real quick. Let's find a different one. That works. Okay, we're going to shrink this down a bit. You can grab the corner here. One cool trick is you can hold control and drag, and it resizes the window no matter where your mouse is. So normally you can click and drag and it drags the window, or you can hold control and it will resize the window, which is really nice.
I'll bet you're running this stuff on a dual monitor setup, huh?
No, I have one ultra wide monitor.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well,
I don't even know if Fantasy Grounds will span 2 monitors. That's a good question. I doubt it. Most programs don't. They either run on one monitor or the other. Okay, so we got our map here. Now, on maps, I'm not going to go... There's a whole bunch of stuff to maps here that's in this toolbar, but I'm not going to show you that. For now, we're just going to use this map. I'm just going to turn off line of sight. And come out here and just use this map generically, okay? If you hold down the middle mouse button and drag, you can drag the image around within the window. So that's kind of nice, too. So those shortcuts are really helpful. I'm going to go over the toolbars and everything on maps after we go through the combat tracker here. I just wanted to show you that in the combat tracker, if I want to put you down, I can say, here's Bob, and then I can put down these NPCs, and you notice their tokens are gray.
Yeah.
And if I enable the visual on one of these, see, they start lighting up. Does that make sense? So Bob cannot see these because they're hidden, but if I show them, now Bob can see them. They'll show up in the combat tracker and on the map. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, Maps has got a ton of cool stuff in it, so we're going to save that for last, probably, for all the cool features you can do with Maps. So for now, that's the combat tracker. Here's the initiative and the HP. On all these number fields, you can hit control and scroll with the mouse wheel. So I can give them more hit points. I can give them temporary hit points. I can increase their wound count.
Gotcha.
And so
I didn't count when we fought this last four-armed guy, and I even forgot what his name was, what he was called. But how many hit points did he have total?
132.
Oh gosh. So yeah, we freaking boiled right through that.
Yeah. So the one thing I'm going to warn you about is click these fields and type in them, because if you scroll them, watch what happens. If you hold control and scroll mouse wheel, because they're ordered by the initiative. If I sit here and mouse wheel these, as soon as they change the order that they're sorted, they switch up, and now I'm scrolling a different records field. It's super fucking annoying.
Oh, for changing initiative. That makes sense.
Yeah, because it's swapping. It shouldn't. Honestly, it should not allow you to control scroll these, because I'll start scrolling on one, and then all of a sudden I'll be scrolling on the wrong one. See?
Or at least freeze its position for a 3-second count.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's annoying. So definitely do not scroll those. It's a habit that you should avoid forming, because I fucking can't break the habit. Just click it.
Have you shared that
and type
feedback with them?
numbers.
They've been
I
very
have.
responsive.
Yeah, I have. I did share it. Another thing, when I open up a map, what map were we on? We were on this one. If you want to drag all the baddies onto the map, let's delete all the tokens. So right click when in doubt. There's lots of right click menus, which you already know, I think. But right clicking maps gives you lots of stuff. We're going to go through all those too. But for now, I'm going to right click a token and then delete token, and then there's delete all tokens. So that removes all the tokens off the map. Now let's say if I want to bring all the baddies in at once that are in the combat tracker, you can drag the hostile icon onto the map, and it will put them all there, and then you can adjust their positions. Same thing with
that's cool.
Same thing with friendly. Let's go ahead and clone Bob here. To clone something. Let's say you have this guy in here. You've modified some stats, and you want another copy of him. Drag his little link, his little bookmark button, into the combat tracker, and you got a duplicate.
So for like your little mini mushrooms or mini spiders or whatever.
Yeah. So if you have, it works really well for, like, if you have many mushrooms and you just need to find a myconid, you can just come in here, type myconid. Clearly it's not in the module I have, so we'll just pretend we found a myconid and we'll use this acolyte. You can just keep dragging the acolyte, and that's fine, because it already has the stats you want. But the thing that's nice, I'm going to get rid of some of these to make it easier, is if you create an NPC on the fly, which you're going to do a lot. I should have just deleted all hostiles, but it's fine. Okay. If you right click in here, you can create new item, and it creates an empty box here, unidentified, and it's hidden by default. You can give it a name. We'll call it Evil Bob.
And so a lot of these things, it sounds like you can't really prep before the game. You have to do them in real time.
Yeah, so you just got to get used to it. It helps to have like a handful of like custom NPCs you've already created, so you can pull them out. And we're going to go through that with my prep stuff.
So do you ever go through like practice sessions? Like, okay, the players are going to get here.
Oh, I totally did, yeah.
This.
Oh, I don't anymore, but yeah, when I was getting used to all this stuff, I did some practice sessions. So, okay, so to set this guy up, this is like a quick on-the-fly NPC. If I wanted to do it proper, I would create an actual NPC and put it on this list. I would create a custom category, edit groups, and then I'd hit this little plus, and I'd come down here and I'd create one for, I don't know, just Chev content or whatever. I call it Solstice on my Solstice one, Chev content. And then I would have this category now that I could select, Chev content. So there's nothing here. And I could create a new NPC, and then I could fill in all the NPC fields proper, which I can show you later. But that way that NPC is preserved permanently and stuff. But sometimes I have to pull shit out of my ass really fast. So I'm like, okay, you guys just met Evil Bob. He has 25 hit points. He's hostile to you. And then I'll make him roll initiative, and I'll just roll a d20. And then, okay, he got 5, so I'll click it. I'll put 5. For his, oops, I hit F5, 5. And then I'll give him a token, okay? So I'll come down and go to assets. And the assets window has a bunch of of images and stuff, but it has tokens. And I'll just say, oh, Bob's a humanoid, so I'll type a humanoid or something and see what comes up. Let's try, like, let's say he's an orc. Maybe there's an orc token. You can go through the individual things, but go ahead and just pick a token. We'll say that's his token. You just drag it onto the token field right there. That's it. And now I have an NPC. He doesn't have a lot of stuff. He doesn't have any actions he can do that are built in. But he now has an entry in the combat tracker, and I can drag his token onto the map and put in there. And he has hit points and stuff, so you guys can hit him. And then I can just make some shit up on the fly for when it's his turn and he has actions or something. Which I don't know if you've noticed, but I cleverly often leave some of these made-up NPCs out of combat. Like Arrow. Arrow is one of these weenie NPCs. If I want to save this guy, let's say I create him on the fly, but I'm like, oh, I really want to save him. I can just drag him into here. And then, oh, I guess, did that not work? Didn't even copy his hit points over. Pfft, lame. Okay, well, that didn't work. I guess I would just have to manually create it. Let's see, what if I copy him? So the copy's in there just fine. Why does Evil Bob have 0 hit points all of a sudden? I don't know what's going on. Okay, yeah, I guess that doesn't work like I thought it did. But anyway, that's fine. The best place to start, I guess, if it's not going to copy and save this stuff, then the best place to start, if you think you're going to keep the NPC, is just pop over here and create a new item here. Same thing, you only have to fill in a couple fields. You can just give it a name, Evil Bob, and then you can put this is a slot for the token. So we'll go back to the tokens.
Sideshow Bob.
And that's Sideshow Bob. Okay, well, this is Sideshow Bob.
I mean, Sideshow Bob, Evil Bob. Is there really a difference?
And so I can drag the token there. It's like a storage place for the token for this guy. And then I can just leave it in here. You can lock it down. So now you can see. Did it not say? Oh, wait, I guess I didn't say his hit points in here. So 25. You choose an armor class for him. We'll say 12. There. And that's like the minimum you need. And now I can drag him to the combat tracker. And now he's stored over here forever. So I can go and fill in the rest whenever I want to. What's cool is you can copy in text into these fields. So like if they have an action to take, like wielding a sword, you can actually go find. Let's go to D&D. Can you still see my screen while I'm on my Chrome?
Yeah, yeah, I see you.
D&D Beyond. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and find. Let's see. Let's find a soldier. Is there a soldier NPC? Yeah, monsters. Okay, and I'm gonna say that he has the longsword attack, and I'm just gonna copy this. And Fantasy Grounds actually parses this text, which is actually pretty badass. So it parses it, and you can hover over it and see if it's recognizing the things right. Melee weapon attack +3 to hit.
Nice.
Plus
so then
10.
you can use all these commands.
Yeah, and now check this out. If I save this, so let's say I lock this, I'm going to delete this guy out of there because I think it creates a copy so that if you modify anything out here, it doesn't modify the original. So I'm going to lock this guy down. I'm going to put him in here, and now it's his turn. And if I come here and I press this sword, when it's his turn, this sword button will light up and it automatically shows his actions. I automatically have attack and damage, and if there's extra damage, I think this is it. I think the long sword can be wielded with 2 hands, and it does a 1d10 + 2, or 1 hand and 1d8 + 2. If it's doing 1 hand, and you can, if you're unsure, you can click it. And slashing damage if used with 2 hands. Yep. So see, it parsed out the relevant text, created these actions, and now if I want to attack Bob here, I can actually just let's see, how do I target? I thought I could target from right within. Oh yeah, drag this onto him. There, it puts him in the targets. So you don't even need to target with the map if you don't want to, because he targets Bob right here. You can see Bob is right there, and you can clear all of his targets. Or you just got to drag this onto someone else in the combat tracker, and you can do that for your players too, I believe. I could force you to target, but I try to get you guys to target on your own, so that I don't have to do it all the time. But anyway,
yeah.
So Sideshow Bob targets Bob, and then you can just double click the attack. You can double click the damage after it hits, And there you go. And then it automatically, since he's targeted, rolls against his AC and everything, which I think was nothing because we didn't fill it in. It was 10.
Is
by
there
default. What's the
Yes,
matter?
you actually described it. I was going to ask, is there a way to design an algorithm in D&D Beyond that sums up the gamble hit so it's not so much work? Because I mean,
You mean within
actually
FGU?
yeah, within FGU, and I actually just thought you would have to just create a copy of the weapon and just like call it the gamble hit weapon, and then plug in those stats.
Yeah, there may
-5.
be a way to design an effect. I'm not going to go into that now because even I don't fully understand how to craft custom effects, but there is a way, and you can craft custom effects so that you could give yourself a button, like how on the spell you can hit the different buttons,
Oh my gosh,
and you
that
can
would be
can
so
hit the
nice.
effect button, and it will put the effect on yourself and then modify your hits appropriately. And it's complicated. It's like its own little programming language almost. So I am not going to fuck with that right now. The easiest way is
Like,
what you said.
especially
Just create 2
when
entries
I'm
and then you're good. Huh?
like when I'm raging and I've been blown up and I've doing my gamble hit. It's so much like, especially the first time I do it. Like every subsequent time that I do it as a player,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Here's what the total was after I calculated it, and here's
Mhm.
what my. But the very first time in a game when I haven't played for a week or two, that I go to do it, it's like, oh shit, okay,
Mm.
okay, I'm this, I'm that. That's what these mean numerically.
And so you can see the different
Okay.
effects on people. I'm clicking effects here, and I'm not going to go over these 3 buttons because I never use them, but they matter for like how long the effect lasts and stuff. And I don't create custom effects yet, like I just said, so I haven't had to worry about what these all mean because usually everything just kind of works out of the box.
Can you
And
download or can you save and use the enlarge effect? Or the rage, like I mean, there's got to be effects in there because rage is used all the freaking time. So there's got to be like a way to,
so some of that stuff
like,
probably works out of the box when we don't realize it because we don't use actual Fantasy Grounds sheets. We use what I call shell sheets, which are sheets that just have the numbers correct and have your actions programmed into the actions tab so that you can use the sheet in the game to interact with the NPCs and stuff, but it doesn't actually have the stuff built in. Like it doesn't know that you're a barbarian and you have rage, and it doesn't have all those things, all those formulas programmed into it. If you create a proper sheet, which I can show you how to do using all this, you might have to pay for stuff to get those races. With shell sheets, it doesn't matter. You don't have to own any content. You just use the D&D Beyond to create the character sheet, and then you can use that as a reference to create the shell sheet in Fantasy Grounds. But if you want to have a real full-blown Fantasy Grounds sheet, it's really cool and has lots of features. The downside is nobody can access their sheet unless you're hosting a game, whereas dndbeyond.com is up all the time. So they can go access their sheet anytime on dndbeyond.com, and it's more intuitive on there too. But if you do use proper in-game sheets, and you're dragging like actual races from the races window onto the sheet, and you're dragging classes onto the sheet, they add pre-programmed formulas for stuff, and I'm sure Rage is in there. It probably is.
oh my gosh. While you were explaining that, I just went to like I googled Fantasy Grounds Rage Effect,
Mm-hmm.
and there's actually like in the forums somebody's got this and it's
Formula.
taking forever to load because it's packed. But yeah, there's like formulas for freaking everything that you could probably
Yeah.
just copy paste, add to the
Feel free to
campaign,
mess with that
and
stuff, dude.
boom.
If you learn stuff, teach me. Yeah. I just haven't sat down and taken the time to learn it because there's already so much going on. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much more time on that. Just know that creating an NPC is great, but what's the easiest to do, and this is what you're going to do most of the time, is open up your NPCs window, find all the NPCs you want, find one with the stats that you're looking for and abilities that you want, and then you can drag it over here, and then you can change its name to Evil Bob, and you can change its token, give it a different token. Let's see, orc. Yeah, we'll just put this orc token on it, and there you go. It's a whole different character, even though it has the same stats as this guy. And you can just flavor this. Oh, and so if you hit the swords, see, here's all the things. And then if you need more, like, how does this ability work? You just click their little bookmarks. It pops up, tells you everything you need to know about it, which you can also find on D&D Beyond if you need to. But it's nice to have this all right here. And you have all the things you can click to make someone roll a save, to roll the damage. So these pre-built NPCs come with everything already. So it's way easier to pick one and then rebrand it than it is to create one from scratch. Just keep that in mind. That's the best way to create something on the fly. So I usually I would just find a handful of NPCs from the monster manual that you like, and that fit different situations, and then you can just bring them over here and tweak them real fast. Like, oh, this guy has this ability, but this might need to do more damage or something. So you can, let's see, how hard is it to modify their actions? Like that. There you go. You can come in here and modify their actions. All you gotta do is change the numbers. It's literally a text field, even though it's like highlighting and parsing and figuring out parts of the text, which is pretty awesome. It's just a text field. So if you want this to be a +4 to hit, then just change it. And you can change the die formula and everything too. So you can modify all the NPC's existing stuff. You can rename the abilities if you need to. Yeah, these are text fields. So I can rename this to, I don't know, let's say he's a pyromaniac type of person. So instead of a light spell, he has a firework spell. Just so happens it does the same end result as the same effect as the light spell. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So you can change all that around. And this just changes it for Evil Bob. So if I lock this down and I made those changes will show up out here. But if I go drag another acolyte in, it's going to maintain all the stuff it had before. It's not going to see, it's still got the light spell and everything. So you can modify anything you put in the combat tracker to your heart's content. You can also just copy these in here. So often what I'll do is I'll pop this category thing down. I have my custom category there. I'll just drag one of these into the custom category and it copies it. So let's see, this guy's still here, Aarakocra. Let's see. Oh wait, did it move it completely? I think it did. Oops, I think I moved it into a different category. Let me put it back in the bestiary. Let's see, how do I... Oh, there we go. I created a copy. I guess dragging it to a category doesn't copy it, it just moves it. But I dragged it into the same window that it was in, and I created a copy. See, it has no module now, or no category. So now I can move it to the category I want. Okay. Some of these things are not intuitive, just like that, like little things like that. So make sure you take the time to play around with the controls and get used to it. So now I have this Aarakocra copy in this chef content. I can open it up, hit this little lock at the top to unlock it, and I can start tweaking it. That's your best way to create monsters. And then you can change the token that's stored by just dragging a new token onto this token field. Oh, and this ID thing, if you've been wondering what that is, if you click that, it means it's unidentified by default when it's added to the combat tracker. Let me get rid of these. So now if I take this Aarakocra, put it in here, you can see this little item not identified, and it says unidentified creature. You can also change this to something else. This is what I did with that orc. So I put, I forget what the orc's name was, but orc guy. And then I gave him a token. And then as soon as he was identified, I just had a different name for the identify. Some beast. And then you can toggle between by the characters identified or not identified. That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. And then I had to manually swap the token. Unfortunately, you can't set two tokens and have them change with identified, because that would be pretty cool. But I just had to change it to identified, and then I went and found a different token and drug it on there, and that was it. And then he changed. Let's see. Anything else about the NPCs? The talk bubble sets you up to talk as this NPC. So let's see. If I go to Sideshow Bob. Okay, you can see down here. I don't know what the blank one's about. For some reason the Aarakocra added the blank one. Anyway, see Sideshow Bob. I can click that, and then I can type something. into the chat, and I'm talking as Sideshow Bob. We don't use the text chat really that much, so it's not that cool, but it's cool if you need to post stuff like that in the chat. Some people like that style.
And you have used it occasionally, not often.
Yeah, once in a while.
I think when you did I think you posted the lyrics to the I forget his name, the mushroom guy.
Yeah, and I'll show you. I actually did that from a story entry. So I get to the story and I just click this talk bubble, and it automatically makes the NPC say a predetermined thing. So rather than I wasn't clicking the talk bubble I just showed you and then typing it out on the fly, the typing was already done, and I just click it, and I'll show you that. The other cool thing as a DM is you can hit this little drop down and you can choose a language, and you can type in it stuff and things, and it will post this generic gibberish, and only the players that have Goblin as their language that they can understand will be able to read that.
See, I understood that feature, and I actually really like that feature. I wish that we used it more, but we always just speak in common, and anybody that we meet, they either speak in common or speak in gibberish.
Well, guess what, Mr. New DM? You are free to do whatever you like.
Oh, yeah, I totally will. But yeah, we haven't... I think we've encountered language barriers. In Echoverse, we encountered more language barriers, but in Solstice, so far, not yet.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much
And
it for
I'm not saying that's a shortfall or anything like that. I'm just saying, oh yeah, this feature, okay, I'm familiar with it because of X, Y, and Z. Here's what I know of it.
Sweet. Okay, so the combat tracker, that's pretty much everything there. There's not a lot to go through. God damn it, Pi. Holy shit. Doing?
What?
Cat jumped on the desk and scared the shit out of me and knocked a bunch of shit down. Pi, you're okay. Alright, so there's the combat tracker. There's these different tabs. You can click those. They just show different things for the different characters. Oh, apparently you can actually force some rolls on the characters that way. I try not to roll for characters though. If they can roll in any way, then I try to make that happen. Okay, and this just shows you some of their...
I totally did not understand what you meant by that. You try not to roll for characters.
Yeah, because I can open up Bob's sheet right now, and I can go roll an athletics check right now for Bob. But I don't want to play the game by myself. I want the players to do their rolls. So I pretend I can't even do that.
I see what you're saying.
And all I was saying was when you open this little attributes tab in the combat tracker, apparently you can double click these fields and it will roll for them on those.
So if I felt like just working an absurd amount of time or putting in a ton of effort, I could roll all the rolls for my players.
Yeah, in fact, the feature I'm about to show you is the party window, the party sheet. Let's go ahead and just create Bob 2. There's a Bob and Bob copy. We'll put them both in the party sheet.
We should rename this campaign Office Space. The Bobs.
All right, let's actually do a third one. Okay, so there's Bob copy, and we'll name him Bob copy 2. Okay. Now we got the party sheet window up. Let me get a drink of water. My voice is going. Okay. Geez, I might lose my voice. So now we got the party sheet. You can see a bunch of quick stats if you need to know what they are. Holy crap, it's this theme. You can't see it in this theme, so clearly we need to change the theme. But, fuck. I'm going to close this down and open up a new theme real fast. Because we're going to need to be able to see some of this stuff. Okay, load campaign, end of days. Let's do the dark theme. That seemed to be going well for us.
Dude.
Yeah.
I just had a mathematical
Mathematical.
Yeah, a statistic-based combat formula. I'm kind of curious. Like, I wonder if you would want to try it. I'll probably try it for my campaign. But I wonder if it would improve, like help you find an appropriate level of difficulty for combat.
Go for it. If you find good stuff, share it with me. Okay.
Well, this is just spitballing, so I'll talk to you after your lesson.
Okay. All right, so here's the party sheet. Now you can actually see these things up here. See the words. They clearly didn't change this for their light version of the theme. But anyway, you can see that this strength, dex, con, int, wisdom, charisma. There's their AC, and then their passive perception. Cinder, stop! Holy crap! I'm getting attacked by cats. Their passive perception is right there. And then what are these abilities? What are these down here?
That was a hard dice throw.
Yeah, I don't know what these zeros are. Oh, they're saves.
I can't even see.
What? You can't?
Like, I wish that I wish that like the background of that screen was blue instead of gray, or that the letters were black instead of white, because I just and I can't zoom in anymore. Let's see. Full screen. Let's
Can you see that now with this magnifier up?
There we go. Yeah, I just full screened it because I was using Discord and I didn't even know I've never tried to full screen a.
Holy crap! You were watching it in a tiny
before.
little window.
Not tiny, but it was 6 inches. Now it's 8 inches.
Okay, can you see this now?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's the abilities right there over these columns. I think these are saves right below. So that's the ability and that's the save. I'm not totally sure. Pretty sure that's what it's got to be though. And then this is the HP, and then
I know exactly what it is. It's the modifier. If the ability has 10 points, the modifier is
you're
0.
right. You're right.
The ability to 8, it'd be negative.
You're right. It's the modifier. That's correct. Okay, and then you got HP and damage taken right there, and then the class and level, and it'll show some stuff here: name, race, class, and level. That's what those lines will show. We just haven't filled out proper character sheets, which we can do in a sec. Okay, I'm gonna do scale. I think I can scale this UI. Scale to 150%.
So are the
Is this easier to see?
Yeah, I can see that just fine.
Okay.
So do you update this based on D&D Beyond, and that informs the like the character sheet that the player uses?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. We're getting there. So right now I was just showing you the party sheet. You can drag characters into the party sheet, and then you can do all sorts of shit for them. So you can roll, if you really want to roll for them, you can pick an ability out of this here and roll an ability check. It's like I just rolled strength for all 3 characters, Bob Copy, and Bob Copy 2. Or you can pick a whole skill, investigation, make the whole party roll it. It's particularly good for group stealth. So if you're like, everyone roll stealth, hold on, I'll just roll it for you. You can have them all roll stealth. You can force them all to roll attack rolls. You can force them all to roll saves. So that's what all this down here is for. And you can decide whether you want them to be able to see the results or not by clicking this eyeball. That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. You can also see the whole party's inventory. So if you were using Fantasy Grounds for inventory, it's got some awesome features that we never use because we track inventory using D&D Beyond. But you can take parcels, which are basically just predefined treasure. So that looks like we have some from our Tomb of Annihilation campaign. So this one has 50 gold. Let's see if we can find one that has stuff in it. There we go. There's one with stuff. So this one has a potion of healing, scroll of lesser restoration, and a scroll of purified food and drink. You can drag this parcel into drag this parcel into this window here. It adds all the items in there, and it would add any money in the parcel over here too. And then you can actually just or you can even sell these items instantly right here, turn them into money. So you can use that if you want to.
Oh, nice.
I think it's like for 50% of what they're worth by default here. I think that's what this thing is for. I never do that because I don't like this. You know, I don't. We play this game to get to role play, so selling them on the spot makes no sense. So we never do anything like that. But you can put the stuff that the party's carrying. It will split this up evenly. How do we do assignment? Oh yeah, you just type their name. So we'll say I want the potion of healing to go to Bob. And then I want the scroll of restoration to go to Bob Copy. And I want the scroll of purified drink to go to Bob Copy 2. And then you can hit this little button and it will assign them all. So you can see who they're being carried by. You would see, this window would show everything that all of them are carrying, by the way. It just so happens they're carrying nothing. So now you only see the 3 things I gave them. And then you can also see all their money too, which they also just coincidentally have no money. So that's why that's blank also. But this lets you look into all their bags all at once, this window. You can see everything in here. You can see Bob's carrying this, Bob Copy's carrying that, Bob Copy 2's carrying that. So you can answer quick questions like, do we have any rope? You can look for the rope and see who's carrying it. If multiple people are carrying the same item, this little number changes. That's what that little number at the end is. How many people have this item? Or how many items of, what count of that item that person has is what that means. My bad. The order tab we don't use as often as we probably should, but you can put people in here. You can set the watch order. Oh, your first watch. Okay, your second watch. Your third watch. Okay, so there you go.
Your third watch, and it goes...
Yeah, or you can use this for marching formation. So I'll say you're going first, second, third, and that's what this is for.
Cool.
Yeah. And so that way you can help.
Is it first on the left or is it first on the right?
This is arbitrary. It's basically like a map. You can just do whatever you want. You can put these anywhere. So it's up to you. You can draw on it too if you have to. Oh yeah, these are broken. I need to report that. You can't use these buttons here. You have to right click and then it will work. Drawing, enter draw mode. And then I can leave draw mode. Yeah, those shortcut buttons don't work. I have to tell them about that. But yeah, so this is basically just like a map. You can pan it around and everything. It just doesn't have the other extra tools. So it's only really good for like a quick formation thing or while traveling type of stuff. And then the XP window we never use because we don't do XP. But if you did, you can have those encounters and NPC kills result in giving XP to the party. And you can distribute the XP in here just like you can distribute stuff in the inventory screen. So that's it. That's the party sheet. The calendar does not work out of the box. You have to load a module, which it does come with a default module called calendars, and it gives you a shortcut button to go to the modules tab when you have no calendar. So we'll load the calendars module, and then you can see there's a bunch of different
calendars in any of your campaigns.
I did in Echoverse, and I actually liked it. I'm not sure why I'm not using it in Solstice. I just kind of forgot, I guess. But you can use a regular Gregorian calendar if you want, or you can use any of these like mystical calendars. Totally up to you. It doesn't matter what you use. So this is a normal calendar you're used to, but we'll choose this 5e one, the calendar of Bovia or whatever. So it's like the third Tuesday on the first moon, you know, like you can make up different dates. But the cool thing about the calendar is I can click this and I can put GM notes. Players stupidly passed up.
So that could actually be a valuable tool for
pile.
Documenting what has happened to the character. I mean, you could note everything in the calendar, and you'd even know what.
And so this would be the great place to put recaps. Is here in this player window. Yeah. So player is notes that everyone can see. GM is the only notes you can see. So that's why I said up here, players stupidly passed up huge loot pile. That's something you might need to know, but you don't want your players to know. So that way, if they come back this way or whatever, you know, you can remember that it's there. I thought
we found all the loot tonight. Oh, well.
I'm not, this isn't a real note.
I know, just
Okay, and then for player, you could say, oh, they found a dancing sword. And it shows different dots for which one. So blue is you have a GM note on that day, red is you have a player note. And then the players can open up this calendar and they'll see all the red ones. But yeah, so the calendar's pretty cool. I just haven't been using it. The paint palette thing. This changes your color of the dice and everything. The next time we get back in, I think you did change. You used it to change to maroon, so thanks for that. When everyone's black, it's harder to see. Options.
I don't know why everybody freaking chooses black.
It's the default. They didn't choose anything.
Oh, I mean, if it fits the character, I mean, that's fine. But my character is definitely a maroon character.
If it's black, it's just because they didn't choose it. It's default.
Yeah,
Um,
Marina should be blue.
the options window, just comb through these. You can go on Google and find descriptions of what all these options are. It's pretty easy. Just search for Fantasy Grounds options, and you'll find the page where they have explain what each of these options are. But it's just preferencey type stuff. Like one of them controls that logo on the background. So, and there's different decal extensions you can load if you want different ones. I usually just turn it off. And then there's different things for like what happens in combat and all sorts of stuff. This is all just preference. So, like I said, Google that one. In fact, this question mark right here might even take you to the right page. It does. There you go. Here's the list of all the options and their descriptions. So you can go through all that. That's just preference type stuff. Like one of them is I don't like since Fantasy Grounds rolls the initiative for my monsters. Normally you roll initiative for them all as a group, and when their turn comes, then you just roll for all of their stuff, all in one turn, basically. They all take the same spot in the initiative, basically. But that's because it's convenient. But with Fantasy Grounds can roll individual initiatives for each of the NPCs. And that makes it more realistic to me anyway. And so I just I turned that off so that it wouldn't roll them as a group. It rolls them individual, just like you guys have to.
Oh, okay.
So there's stuff like that you can set in the options. Modifiers, you can drag these onto NPCs in the combat tracker or players and NPCs. So if someone's ducking behind cover, let's see, how do I do that? Oh, you click these. These are modifiers like down here on the bottom left. You click these and they're active. And then when you say they're behind cover, they will take that into account when you roll damage or roll an attack roll. Just like how when you click advantage, it'll roll 2d20s. You'll notice this is what it clicks after you roll a critical. So when you roll a critical hit, a 20, this modifier automatically activates itself, and then the next time you do damage, it consumes this modifier. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And this modifier makes sure that it doubles. That's why that's how it automatically does that crit damage for you.
Gotcha. That's nice that there are a few things to make it easier. I figured that the first time that I DM is going to be just.
And then effects, these are the ones I was thinking of.
Disaster.
You can drag these. So I can drag prone onto this guy, and it will put it on his effects tab. You can click this to expand it. You can see prone. I can drag a bunch of other shit in there if I want. I don't know why I can drag prone twice, but apparently I can. And these all contain effects that will ultimately affect, different things about that person. When they take damage, it might be with advantage or, whatever. So you can clear all the effects. Just click these little buttons. You have to click them twice, once to say and then once to confirm. That gets rid of all the effects. So you can create custom effects, like I said. I just don't know how that works. So okay, gotcha. So that's all the little buttons then up at the top.
I done figured the custom effects out.
Characters. Okay, let's go over character creation. We're gonna just go ahead and delete our guys for now.
You remember Homestar Runner?
I do.
Yoictus.
Okay. One thing that's cool that they just recently added is a character wizard. So if you click this little blue star in the character window, it will open the character wizard, which lets you go through a similar thing to D&D Beyond. So it's a little bit easier now.
So when I create a character in D&D Beyond, you actually go through Fantasy Grounds and copy all of the choices that I made to replicate my character.
I used to do that where I would copy all the choices, yes, but I don't anymore. In fact, let's start there. What I was about to do was use Fantasy Grounds to create a regular character, like with full features and everything. But first, I'm going to show you the shell sheets that I do. This is how I do it. Okay, I come over to D&D Beyond, and then I find my campaign. I'm gonna do it for LOL. Well, you don't have spells. Let's pick someone with spells, so I can show you the full process. We'll pick Alora.
Oh, Keljon. I forgot about Keljon.
Okay, so oftentimes what I'll do at this point is this, where I put these side by side. And I've got the UI zoomed in so far over here. It's weird, but it'll work. All right, so I'm going to create a new character, open it up, and the name is going to be Elora Wakuda. And then I got to find the portrait. The easiest way for me to do that, it's kind of a pain. You can't right-click save the picture or anything. And so I hit, I come up here and I go to the developer tools, more tools, developer tools. Okay, normally I have it set to pop up as a separate window, but normally by default it should pop up down here like this. And then you can click this little arrow button on the top left of it. And now you can select elements on the page. So I'm going to select that thumbnail. And then you can see it selects the HTML, but over here on element.style, they have that image set as the background image on that HTML element. So I just right click that, open a new tab. There, now I can save the picture.
Oh my gosh. Holy shit, dude. Like, that is so easy, but unless you knew about all those features and how to use them,
Yeah, it helps to be a web developer, but it's like, because I know what I'm looking at when I pop that window open. But yeah, it's either going to be an image element in HTML where it'll be on that left side of the screen. Here, I'll show you. It's either going to be over here. It would have been an IMG element instead of a div element, and then it would have had a source attribute with the URL in there, or it's set with CSS, which is this is a language that just styles elements on the page, and it's set with this background image CSS rule. So I knew that it could only be in one of two places when I started inspecting it. But yeah, D&D Beyond, it's never changed, so you can always find it right there, which is nice. And then I just download this image. I'll save it to. Actually, before I save it, I think I just come over here, double click this, and there's a button for folder. It should open up the Explorer folder. There it is. And I already have her picture downloaded right there, so I won't actually download it, but I would save it to this folder. And then once I close that folder and go back to the game, I can double click this and it should appear in this data bag. It should be in here somewhere. There she is, Elora. Okay. So I added Elora just like that. I'll close that window so it's not confusing. Okay, and then we'll go back to the sheet. And I just do this really fast. The first thing I'd set is ability scores. 9, 12, 11, 18, 16, 15. So I'll come over here and I'll control mouse wheel down for 9, 12, 11, 18, 16, 15. Okay, and then automatically it calculates the saving throw modifiers, but it doesn't show which ones you're proficient with. So she's efficient with int and wisdom. So I'll click the little stars on int and wisdom. Now those modifiers should match. +7 +6 +6 +5. Why is it different? Oh, because we haven't gotten to class level yet. So yeah, so don't worry about that yet. 9, 12, 11, 18, 16, 15. As long as those numbers are right, it'll all catch up in a second. Next thing we want to do is add the class. And so normally I would come into classes and I'd drag these objects, but you have to pay for stuff to get all that. So instead, we're just going to create a made-up class. We'll just call it Wizard. And then we'll set the level, control mouse wheel to scroll the field. You can also just click it and type the level if you want. So like I'll click it and type 7. There's that 7. She is a caster, and I don't actually know exactly what this is. I think it only relates to warlocks, but by default it's 1x. I've compared it by actually dragging the class and seeing what it sets to, but I don't know a ton about the field. You might want to just Google it and figure it out. This is if they're a warlock or not. If you check that, they use pact magic, which has a little bit of different rules on spell slots and stuff. So unless they're a warlock, that's empty. To find their hit die, I click short rest over here, and it's right here. Their hit die is 1d6, and they have 7 of them. It's determined by their level. And so all I have to do is drag a d6 onto that field. Right there. So if you see a little field with a ghost die in it, it's meant to have dice dragged onto it. And so I drag that d6 there, And I can, if she's already used a certain number of hit dice, say I popped this open and there was 3 used, then I could come right here and put a 3 in there, just like that, and say that that 3 of 7 are used. You can see out here on her sheet it says 4 left, but she hasn't used any, so put that to 0. I'll untick those. Okay, so that's it for that. Wizard, level 7. When she levels up, I just come back in here and level it up to 8. But now these modifiers should have adjusted based on the level. So a +7 and a +6. Yep. Okay. We're good. Then I set up the initiative. That's right here in the middle. +1, +1. Okay, that matches. AC is a 12, so control mouse wheel for 12. This is armor proficiency. It doesn't matter because we're not actually using armor in here. So I always turn it off. And then the speed is 30. Okay, there's 30. Special move. You can click walking here, and if she had flying or swimming speeds, they'd be listed up here at the top. But she doesn't, so there's no special move. Does she have dark vision? That would appear over here on additional sense types. And she does not, so if she did, I would put dark vision right here. Passive perception is 13. Yep, 13. If you want to, you can put their passive int and passive wisdom, since D&D Beyond likes to show it right there. You can put them on this line. This is just a text field. You can just put passive int 17 and then hit enter. Passive whiz 13. And then if you care about those values, you can use them. You don't really use that very often. Mostly only passive perception is used, which is why Fantasy Grounds only bothers to really track the one field. But D&D Beyond shows you all of them, so. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the front screen. Oh, except for health. So max health is 0. So she has 30, so I set that to 30. Okay. All the numbers now, and these are text fields, so I will still put her background. So like I'll go to description, cloistered scholar, and I'll put the background. But it doesn't do anything. This is just for reference, just for OCD purposes, I guess. But since I'm just typing text and not dragging a race object from the race window, it's not going to modify the sheet in any way. It's just going to put words on this line. That's all it's doing. So I'm going to put human. And that's it. And then on the skills tab, the only thing you have to do is what are they proficient at? Arcana, history, investigation, religion. So Arcana, history, investigation, religion. Or like, remember how you were a bard and how you had like half proficiency on like everything? You can just click this 3 times and you'll get a half star. Twice and you get double proficient. A lot of rogues are double proficient at stuff. And so by default it's 1 star, next click is double star or half star, and then turns it back off. So that's all I have to set for her, and then I just do a quick check. Okay, Arcana +7, Arcana +7. Okay. That means you're probably good. And then abilities. The only thing I do on this tab is add languages so that we can use that language feature in Fantasy Grounds if we want to. So whenever you're on a page like this, look for the little pencil icon. And when you click that, it gives you additional icons for editing stuff, editing lists. You can hit add item on languages. And then her languages are all right here on D&D Beyond. And so I just go through common, enter, dwarvish, enter, elvish, enter, undercommon. That's it. And it automatically sorts them by alphabetically. So if it's jumping around on you, that's why. It's because as soon as you hit enter, it sorts the list. Now she'll be able to read any text that gets posted in the Fantasy Grounds chat with those languages. The rest here is all up to you. This would be stuff you'd normally be dragging from over on these tools on the right. But we're creating a shell sheet, so we don't have to own content, and we're not going to fill any of that in. Inventory we don't use either. It'll automatically add some weapons to the inventory when I get to that point, but notes, this is purely for your own convenience or the player's convenience. You can add all that stuff from features and traits. No, from description. Yeah, there we are. Female, brown, medium size, 5 foot. You could add all that in here if you want. You can add the backstory and notes. That's just up to you. I tend to skip it. And then log, we don't use that, but players are, this would be the players to log stuff and keep notes if they wanted to of their adventures, but we never really use it. And then the actions tab, this is where the magic happens, literally. I gotta put stuff on the list for the actions tab. So I will usually go to her actions first and pull out the weapons. So actually I tend to go to equipment because I want to. So these rings I don't keep track of. I don't put the rings on them. I just find out what spells that they have on the rings and put those spells on their list. So, but for now, I just see a dagger and leather. So everything that's equipable. It makes it really easy to find. So just dagger. That's the only weapon she has. So if we go to actions, she just has the dagger. The rest are all spells. Okay, so to make this easy on myself, I go to items. And I find the dagger. Okay, and I can see that there's a dagger in Tomb of Annihilation, and there's one in the SRD data I loaded. If I loaded the player's handbook, I'd probably see an entry for the player's handbook too, but I didn't load that. So we're going to drag the dagger in here onto the sheet. It adds 2 entries. That's because one is set to melee, so, you know, trying to slice with it, and the other one is set to thrown, and you can set the ammo to 1. So it's like you only have 1 dagger. So if she uses this one to throw it, it'll tick off this ammo, and then the next time she goes, it'll say, hey, by the way, you actually threw that dagger. Did you get it back? And so she can either uncheck that or go, oh, yeah, I can't actually throw a dagger. I don't have it anymore.
I threw my dagger. Can I have another one, please?
So that's it. If there was additional weapons, I'd add that there. Unarmed strike. There's no item for unarmed strike. And you could manually add this, by the way, and I'll show you how to do that, but it's complicated, so it's easier if the item is available in the free content from the modules, the SRD data.
So just copy it.
Yeah, just drag it, use it, because it makes it way easier. And you're really going to hate yourself if you have to create all the spells from scratch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, we are on to spells now. So I'm going to go to the spells tab, and I just go in order. So the cantrips. So she's got Acid Splash. Do we need to call it, by the way? I know it's been a little long. We can pick it up again tomorrow.
Yeah, you know what? Let's have a session 2. It'll be better for my focus, and since we do have tomorrow available, there's no need to get through it all tonight.
Okay. After tomorrow, I'm pretty busy, but I do have most of tomorrow free. So if you want more of my advice, then let's make sure to plan something.
Okay, deal.
Sooner rather than later, because I have work the next day.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. Cool. I guess we'll go over adding the spells next time then. That's where we'll pick up. I'll show you how to finish the shell sheet. We'll go through more of these buttons, and then what I really want to show you is how I do prep, because I think that'll be nice for you. But you can read that book too. It will help. Like, it might be better actually if you read that book first and then I show you that module, because then you'll see, like how I crafted my Fantasy Grounds experience to fit, you know, the style of that book.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Cool. Thanks anybody who happened to be watching. We'll catch you next time.